What's up, y'all? My name's Moleman3000, and today we are talking about building the skill of martial arts. But before we do that, this is the second video in a playlist of videos all about skill acquisition. So, if you haven't started at the beginning of the playlist already, click right here to do just that. Thank you very much. Alright, y'all, to start off, martial arts is a skill that I have wanted to build for at least 2 years now, and it has been incredibly daunting for me to start. There's been just this invisible psychological barrier that I just have not been able to break down. But it has always been baking in the back of my subconscious. There's always been an appeal to it, and I've always wanted to do it. There are so many reasons to do it and very few reasons not to do it, other than I'm lazy and it's difficult. As I get older, however, I become increasingly more aware of how vulnerable we are on a day-to-day basis. Humans are disgusting creatures in almost every conceivable way. I think we all know that to some degree. But I think for the most of us, we have never really truly considered someone hurting us or the people we care about as a real possibility that can happen in real life. As Light Yagami would say, this world is rotten, and it's filled with rotten people. You're always preaching at me, man. So what? Why should I care? As adventurers, it is our job, our duty, to make sure that the world is a better place. I would hope. My hope is that your goal is not to become a chaotic evil level 20 mage who summons meteor storms on an unsuspecting village just for the fun of it. I would sincerely hope that isn't you, or any of us. The point is, I know that the people I care about can be hurt by trash humans at any point. It's unlikely and it's not probable, but it is possible. I very much like my friends and would prefer to not see them get hurt in any sort of way. Just the thought of seeing my friends get hurt makes me mad. Makes me mad, dude. It makes me angry. I don't like thinking about that. So rather than letting this potential energy go to waste, I want to cultivate it and act upon it. Part 1. Protective instincts. We as humans are hardwired to protect what we care about. My working hypothesis is that this instinct comes from wanting to keep infants safe. Babies are the most vulnerable thing. It's pretty much our innate jobs as adults to prevent them from doing something dumb, like falling down a bunch of stairs, or touching the stove, or touching broken glass, things of that nature. I think it's pretty safe to say that if you were to see a toddler fall down a bunch of stairs, your instinct would be to go and grab that kid off their feet and move them to a safe location. In fact, you wouldn't even think about it. Your body would just move instinctively. It would move automatically. This instinct is a powerful tool and can not only be refined, but it can be also used as fuel. Whether it's a brother, sister, girlfriend, niece, nephew, cousin, whatever, we all have someone in our lives who is important to us and we just want to protect and keep happy. The thought of something bad happening to these people causes fear, causes anger, and the desire for retribution and retaliation. Just like any great anime hero, if our goal is to protect our friends, we can become literal deity-destroying machines. But it requires great discipline to wield this power properly. Part 2, we are talking about the shadow. This isn't the first time I talked about the shadow on this channel. I bring it up in my second video ever, talking all about creating a vision for your life. Link in the description. What the shadow is, essentially, is just all the things that you really don't like about yourself and would rather not be exposed to the public at large. These are your greatest fears and insecurities. Although seemingly harmless at first, the shadow can become something incredibly dangerous if left unchecked. Our fears and insecurities can turn into resentment, anger, and the desire for revenge. And revenge is like poison. To me, there is nothing scarier in this world than someone who has allowed their shadow to consume them. And I say allowed because it is a choice. This person gave up. They quit the fight. They allowed the dark side to penetrate their soul and corrupt them from within. They have allowed the dark side to consume them entirely. And you know what? I can't entirely blame them. The feeling of anger and the desire for revenge, it's intoxicating. It makes you feel powerful. But in all reality, if we choose to allow our shadow to take control, it ultimately just proves that we are weak. Period. End of statement. We risk losing sight of why we are on this journey in the first place. We risk hurting the very people we sought to protect. To be dramatic about it, we become the very thing we sought to destroy. However, if we acknowledge these weaknesses, if we admit to ourselves our fears and our insecurities, we can use our shadow as a weapon. But how? Think of someone you love. Think of someone you really care about. Have they been hurt by someone before? Is there potential of them being hurt? Who is this person, real or fictitious, that hurt them? This person is your enemy and they must be defeated for all time. The hatred you feel for this person in your heart can be wielded as a mighty weapon. It can push you forward, but you must always keep the person you want to protect in the forefront of your mind above all else. You must balance your hatred with love so that your shadow might not consume you. So for my Star Wars fans out there, you would know that if you tap into the dark side, it makes your combat abilities stronger, you use your rage, it makes you more powerful, your attacks more precise, and usually people who wield the dark side come on top of any sort of life or death battle. Now check this out, this is pretty cool. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it does not work like that at all. You see, if you are a white belt and you're going up against a blue belt or a purple belt, and you are using your anger and aggression on the mat, you're gonna get obliterated. Why is that? It's because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is all about technique. It is a sport of skill. It is a sport of discipline. It is a sport of humility. And if you are actively using your anger, if you are trying to use your emotions to boost your ability on the mat, it's not gonna work because it is all about discipline. It is all about skill. It is all about technique. As soon as you bring emotion into the equation, you'll lose. It might be a different story with Muay Thai and it might be a different story with boxing. But that is my understanding. Discipline is the point. Discipline. If you develop discipline, your shadow will not take control. If you keep love at the forefront of your motivation, your shadow will not take control. There's nothing more dangerous than someone who has embraced evil into their soul. The only way I can think to defend against this is discipline and training. Part 3. Confidence can solve conflicts. At some point in our lives, we have all witnessed something bad happening. Like a bully picking on someone and turn a blind eye. It sucks. It's not a good feeling, but it might be the safest option. We don't want to incur any unnecessary risks onto ourselves if we are not prepared to handle them. As things are right now, if we are untrained, if we've never been in a fight before, if we're not good at dealing with conflict, we have exactly 0 ways to respond if somebody starts picking on us. Or worst case scenario, actually starts attacking us. Now, self-defense is a great reason in and of itself to learn martial arts. Now, but imagine if someone you cared about was the one getting hurt. Imagine that some trash human stepped in and started beating them up. Now imagine that you're there and you're watching them get beat up and there's nothing you can do about it because you don't know how to fight and or because you don't have the confidence to step in. This sucks. This sucks real bad. It makes you mad, doesn't it? It makes you mad, doesn't it? It sure as hell makes me mad. Now imagine the same scenario, but you've been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai for a year. You have a pretty good solid grasp on the techniques at this point and are pretty confident in your abilities. This version of you sees your friend getting hit. What happens this time? Well, like a badass, you walk over to this low-life scum You put a hand on their shoulder and politely say that if you ever see them messing with your friend again, you're gonna break their arm. And then you walk away. In this second scenario, you're not just puffing out your chest and exercising bravado. Oh no, no, no. You've got the training to back up your confidence. Confidence alone is oftentimes enough to stop any nonsense in its tracks. De-escalation is the goal. There are many things that can help increase your odds of de-escalating a situation. You see, as humans, we are constantly measuring up against potential competitors. When we size someone up, our brain is calculating our odds of success if a violent scenario were to occur. If you're skinny and you're small, someone is far more likely to mess with you than if you are big and beefy. This is a concept that Jack's Plate calls the lion in the room effect. Basically, if you can develop an amazing physique, if you can develop an intimidating presence, people are going to be far less likely to mess with you or cause trouble. And the good news is you do not need to be a barbarian to unlock this ability in real life. Part 4. Under pressure, you do not rise to the challenge. You sink to your level of training. That's a quote by some person. As Joe Rogan has said so eloquently in one of his podcasts, and I'm paraphrasing, if you are trained in BJJ and you are up against someone who doesn't know how to fight, even if this other person is bigger than you, that other person is screwed. Our goal should never be to actively getting into fights, but to be de-escalating a situation wherever they arise. Being confident and having an intimidating presence will prevent anything from happening 99.9% of the time. But that leaves a 0.1% chance that something bad might happen. Sometimes people just can't be reasoned with. Sometimes it's because they don't know what they're doing. Other times they might be seeking violence. Some people revel in the feeling of power they get from hurting other people. These are the people we want to avoid, like the plague. But sometimes life is tough and we attract some unfortunate attention. In a situation where we are face to face with someone who is completely unreasonable, what should we do? It's easy to fantasize how we could fold them up like a pretzel and throw them out the window, but it's not really realistic. Unless we have an automated process to fall back on, the chances of us freezing up and doing absolutely nothing increases by 40 billion%. If someone is coming at you, if someone is coming at someone you care about, the last thing you want to do in that scenario is freeze up and do nothing. If someone is being hostile, if somebody is coming at us or someone we care about, I would imagine that the last thing we want to do is to freeze up and do nothing. Like I said, the likelihood of being attacked by a goblin is 0.1%. Even so, it's something we want to be prepared for if the time comes. Under pressure, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to your level of training. Part 5, Call to Action. To those fiddling with the idea of learning a martial art, to those who aspire to protect the people they care about, I call upon thee to get thine ass into gear. To those who want to be protectors for your friends, family, etc., I call upon thee to take up thine call. I challenge thee to look up the nearest MMA place, take a few classes and see what you think. Usually the first few classes are free. This is the call to adventure. To all my fellow warriors and protectors, let's make ourselves better so that we might make the world better. Let us embrace our dark side and wield it as a weapon. Use it as fuel and motivation to push past our psychological barriers. Let us practice discipline and keep love in the forefront of our minds so that our shadow might not take control of our soul. Let us be patient and let us be consistent. Once again, I'd like to thank all of you for watching this video all the way through. It means the world to me. As always, I have included some resources in the description that should help all of you on your magnificent journey. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.